Thank you, Hugh. Hello to you. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. This is what the NHS dental crisis in Yorkshire looks like. Patients in pain, dentists under pressure.
I'm shamed. I don't want to be seen. It's a nightmare. I don't want to put makeup on. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out with my friends. My friends don't see me anymore.
The BBC has uncovered how deep and how wide the problem is. So what's to be done about it? Also tonight, Save Our Bus Services calls for politicians to get on board after 2 operators in South and West Yorkshire stops trading. And hopes to create the highest altitude outdoor pool in the country. It just needs to make a splash with investors.
And with news of another heat wave across Yorkshire and the North Midlands, join me for the very latest.
Hello, thank you for your company this evening. Look North has reported many times on the crisis in dentistry affecting thousands of people across our region. But today, thanks to new BBC research, the dire situation both dentists and patients find themselves in is laid bare. Our research has found out that 437 NHS practices contacted by the BBC in North, South and West Yorkshire, only 10 are accepting new adult patients and 53 are accepting new child patients. If you're looking for an NHS dentist in Rotherham, York, Leeds, Calderdale and Kirklees, well, no practices there are accepting new adult patients at all. Sabia Pervez has this.
This is the state of dental health in Yorkshire. Mandy Sharp's teeth have decayed so much she now feels compelled to hide her teeth behind a mask. She's been struggling with her teeth for years, trying desperately to get help from NHS dentists in West Yorkshire. She's had no luck.
We've got no vacancies. We're full. We've got a waiting list. 7 years, 3 years, 2 years. 18 months. That's no good.
The state of Mandy's teeth is impacting both her physical and mental health.
I'm shamed. I don't want to be seen. It's a nightmare. I don't want to put makeup on. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out with my friends. My friends don't see me anymore.
Mandy isn't the only person desperate to see a dentist. Of the 437 NHS dentists the BBC approached in Yorkshire, only 10 are taking on new adult patients. The situation is worse in places like York, Leeds, Rotherham, Kirklees and Calderdale, because in these areas there aren't any dentists taking on new adult patients.
Right, so what's the problem?
Ian Boyd's been a dentist for over 30 years. He says the situation now is the worst he's ever seen.
No problems at all. We can sort that for you with pleasure.
I'm absolutely, completely full. I've got a backlog of patients that I've been treating on the NHS. I'm still working my way through the COVID treatments. I don't have any more funding to take on new patients in terms of the patients I have now will use up all the money that the government's giving me. It's really, I feel really bad about it. It's the first time in a long, long time in my professional career that I've ever had to turn people away.
For many waiting, it'll be years before they get to sit in the dental chair. As they wait, the list grows longer, the need more urgent. And for people like Mandy, it's coming to terms with having to live in excruciating pain.
I'm in pain constantly, even when I don't eat. I don't want to eat. Oh, I dream of crisps. You know, nice prawn cocktail crisps, sat at the side at river, with my face mask off, enjoying sunshine.
Well, this is a subject that's affecting many of you. John Fiddler has emailed. He says he's a 71-year-old patient. His NHS dentist that he's been with for 30 years went private 5 years ago. He now has to pay more for dental work, and he says it feels like patients are now being held to ransom by vastly overcharging dentists. Another email from Mr. Priestley. He says his wife lost her teeth after cancer treatment. She has tried lots of local ones. She's not been able to find an NHS dentist, and this is really affecting her confidence as well. John Beale, Dr. John Beale joins us now. He's from the Leeds Health Watch Group. Thank you for coming in today. John, you can hear the extent of the problems that some of our viewers are having to face because of a lack of NHS dentists. How many inquiries are you getting about this?
In the last 6 months, I think we've had about 130 calls, people asking how they can find an NHS dentist. The number has slightly fallen off, not because the problem has gone away, but because all we can do is recommend that people keep trying. That there are very few dentists who are offering treatment for new NHS patients, and you just have to try, maybe sit on at least a waiting list, maybe several waiting lists to see which one comes up first.
By the sounds of it, people have just given up trying, haven't they? So they haven't been in touch. Just very briefly, tell us, why is the system so broken?
Well, there are a number of reasons. One of the reasons is the dental contract, the way dentists are paid, is not fit for purpose. Now, to be fair, the government have announced that they're going to make some minor changes in the contract, and hopefully that will cause some improvement. However, the root problems are much deeper than that. First of all, we have a dental workforce shortage in this country, and it's not just dentists we're short of doctors, we're short of nurses. The NHS is starved with the resources to actually have sufficient staff to provide the treatment that people need. And secondly, the British Dental Association calculate that the take-home pay for dentists working on the NHS has reduced in real terms, and this is before the current inflation, has reduced in real terms by over 33% in the last decade. And dentists find that they can no longer afford to carry on providing as much NHS treatment as they were previously. And they are saying, if I increase my private practice, because most dentists are a mix of NHS and private, if I do more private, I can earn what I was earning before on the NHS.
So several issues you were saying there that need to be addressed. Really briefly, just in one sentence, what can patients do if they are desperate for a dentist?
Well, they just have to keep trying, unfortunately. If they can afford it, then they go privately. Many patients can't, and that's a tragedy.
Well, we'll keep coming back to this story. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Beale. Now, if you want to find out what access to NHS dentistry is like where you live, then there is an interactive map on the BBC website. So go to bbc.co.uk/health. There's also a special programme on the BBC iPlayer called Disappearing Dentists. A good watch. OK, let's talk about buses now. The Mayor of South Yorkshire has told Look North tonight that without his intervention, the county could lose a third of the miles covered by public transport buses across the county this winter. Routes across South and West Yorkshire were earmarked for closure after two companies went into administration. Campaigners say without further intervention, more routes could be lost in the coming months. David Rhodes has this.
On Friday, the 201 route through South Yorkshire was earmarked for closure after two bus companies fell into administration. Today, the service was reprieved as Stagecoach began running it, but for some passengers along the route, they're still grappling with a deteriorating service.
Because they never turn up on time and they keep cutting them, so I was supposed to get places.
1 hour, it's ridiculous. And we've heard that one of the other buses, a 23 that we can get on, they're pulling that out as well.
The collapse of CT Plus and PALS last week was blamed on rising fuel and staff costs, as well as the pandemic, problems all bus companies are facing. Campaigners now want our region's newly elected mayors to step in and protect passengers.
We have a situation where the mayor is able to take into public ownership bus companies that fail. He can do that legally. He can't at the moment take the whole service over legally, which is what we'd like in the long run.
Campaigners are talking about long-term bus franchising, like the system that already exists in London. In the capital, the mayor runs the bus system. Fares are capped at £1.50 and timetables are set by City Hall. Greater Manchester is moving to a similar but smaller system.
So right now we're finding all the money we can to keep buses on the road. So we know we're facing huge challenges going into autumn and winter. We already think we're going to lose about a third of the miles that are run by buses across South Yorkshire if we don't do anything about that. So we're doing everything we can, finding all the money we can to keep buses on the road. Longer term, we're going through the assessment process to get to franchising as quickly as we possibly can.
It's nearly 100 days since you were elected as Mayor of South Yorkshire. We've got Doncaster Sheffield Airport in financial trouble. We've got bus routes closing. Have you got a plan to fix the transport system here in South Yorkshire?
We're working with the owners of the airport Peel to make sure that that is a thriving regional airport. We're challenging the bus companies to keep the buses on the road, and we're intervening in the market where we can with funding to make sure that those services that we've lost are keeping on going.
The government says it's spending £3 billion across England to protect bus routes long term, but for many vital services there are short-term pressures mounting that are pushing some to breaking point. David Rhodes, BBC Look North, South Yorkshire.
Now, coursing, if you didn't know, is chasing and killing hares with dogs. Since it was banned almost 2 decades ago, the practice has gone underground. But in some parts of our region, it still happens. Now, new measures to stamp it out have been brought in, with those involved facing unlimited fines and prison sentences. Steph Cleeseby's report includes pictures and description, which some people might find upsetting.
Hare coursing, an illegal activity where dogs are used to chase and kill hares. It also involves high-stakes illegal betting.
This is about 55 acres, which is absolutely ideal for them, and they will find a hare and course it and kill it.
This North Yorkshire farmer welcomes the tougher new penalties to tackle the cruel practice. We're protecting his identity. He's asked not to be named, saying he fears retribution.
They're not just killing hares, they're killing anything else that the dogs come across. Foxes, badgers. We found 2 badgers that had been chewed up in the middle of a field while they were going about their nocturnal habits. And deer as well. I've put deer down that have been mauled and have got away from the dogs, probably on 2.5 legs, something like that, and I have to go and shoot it, which is not very nice.
Hare coursing has a long history. Its most famous event was the Waterloo Cup in Lancashire, with the last taking place in 2005, just before the sport was banned. It's now a serious problem in some rural areas, damaging the wildlife population and arable land, and it's associated with other criminal activities. Anyone caught hare coursing will now face an unlimited fine and up to 6 months in prison. The Country Land and Business Association has pushed for the changes in legislation.
So the outcome is going to be higher fines. Much higher fines, and they could potentially face imprisonment. They're going to get the dogs taken off them immediately. And the forces which will bankroll that, and the police can intercept more easily.
We will see what happens. See how many of these nasty people get rattled into court, because it's a deterrent that will work. It worked with badger baiting. The moment they put a prison sentence onto badger baiting, it pretty well knocked it on the head.
Farmers are hoping the new legislation will act as a deterrent, but in the meantime they're continuing to barricade their farms. Steph Cleesby, BBC Look North, North Yorkshire.
Now it's really hot. I always search for an outdoor pool when the weather's like this. No doubt lots of you have been heading to your local pools and water parks, especially within the summer holidays. Well, a team of enthusiastic swimmers, if they get their way, there could be another one on the hills above Oxenhope. It's always a bit chilly up there, but it would be the country's highest altitude Lido, and also be chemical-free. Olivia Richwald has been finding out more.
High up on the hills above Oxenhope, you'd struggle to find a more peaceful part of Yorkshire. Now a plan is taking shape to turn a bit of Victorian history into an outdoor swimming destination.
The idea is to reimagine this space as something that has potential for being a future cultural asset for the area.
This is where Bradford's drinking water was filtered and cleaned for 100 years. It's only when you walk down into one of these old sandbeds you can really appreciate the scale. This one is almost the size of an Olympic swimming pool, and there's 4 of them. The treatment works was closed in 1990, leaving enormous pools lined with concrete and layered with sand. Outdoor swimming has become really popular. Enthusiasts say immersion in cold water is good for the mind and body, and the scheme has lots of support.
When life gets a bit nuts and I get in the cold water in the morning and everything kind of just resets. Invariably, we're swimming in places where you're not supposed to swim. But if we had something like this, available to us, we could, wild swimming could actually be promoted.
I came here over 30 years ago to live around here. It's wonderful. You look down on hawks and peregrines and yeah, it's amazing.
The idea is the Yorkshire Swimworks would be natural. That means no chlorine, the water filtered by plants. It has support from Bradford Council and the area's MP.
I genuinely think, from speaking to constituents and further afield, that there is a real demand for having an outdoor swimming centre. And I really do feel that when you take a really good grassroots idea and try and drive it forward, you can get some really good traction with it. So I think it's a great idea for this location.
Caroline Kindy is the project founder and its biggest enthusiast. But the key question is who is going to fund it?
It might be some government funding, some local council funding, some private investment. Maybe there'll be a philanthropist in the mix as well. We'll see, but there are opportunities on all sorts of levels for a number of people and organisations to help fund the project.
A feasibility study, crowdfunding initiative and a meeting with the planning bosses at Bradford Council will all happen next. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, near Oxenhope.
Oh, I do like the sound of that. I hope it comes off for them. I say Lido, you say...
Well, it's definitely Lido.
It's like tomato and tomato.
No, it's not. It's definitely Lido.
Oh, hang on a minute. My producer says Lido as well.
Well, she's posh as well. Let me show you a couple of pictures.
I'm not posh. I'm from Wakey.
Wakefield-on-Thames. Let's have a look at the pictures you've sent in. This is really interesting. I had to take a second glance at this picture because it really didn't look like Lady Bower Reservoir, but that is an impressive...
Wow.
An impressive scene there with very low water levels. Phil says he's seen it like that once or twice before, but not until mid-September. He's never seen it that low in early August. There's another one as well. You've been out and about. That is another reservoir in the area. That's South Yorkshire, looking very depleted indeed. And the third picture is a lovely one. That is Selby, looking very summery. Indeed, I'm sure those sunflowers will enjoy the heat wave this week with some really quite high temperatures. If you've got any pictures you want sending in, you want on the telly, should I say, the addresses are on your screen now. Weather Watchers, Twitter and Instagram. So very straightforward forecast to come over the next few days. The heat wave will return. It's going to be hot and sunny. I think temperatures peaking somewhere around 32 degrees this week by Wednesday, Thursday, possibly Doncaster, Sheffield, that sort of area. There's your headline. It's a familiar story with high pressure locked right across the UK, keeping these weather fronts way up to the northwest. Just a hint that next week, though, could be cooler and with it a risk of some rain turning more unsettled, but not until next week. Now, we have had a bit of patchy cloud around today, but I think the rest of the week will be a spot the cloud competition because I don't even think there's going to be many clouds in the sky. So this evening looks lovely fine with plenty of sunshine around. Overnight looks dry, long clear periods. Enjoy the fresh feel of the weather tonight because temperatures, of course, by night will be climbing. But I think tonight, rolling around about 9 degrees, elsewhere 10 to 12 Celsius. That's 54 Fahrenheit. So tomorrow's high water time, Scarborough 201, Bridlington at 2:27. So a lovely start with dazzling sunshine and blue sky. Really, if you look at the graphics, talk amongst yourselves because there's nothing happening. It's just sunny all day long and temperatures will be rising quite smartly. Highs of 27 degrees Doncaster, possibly 28. Chesterfield could be the hot spot tomorrow. Lovely cooling sea breezes along the coast. And then really look at that sunshine all the way. Temperatures peaking around 32 degrees. A hint of something more unsettled and cooler next week. And that is the forecast.
Well, we need a few more Lidos.
Right.
Thanks, Paul. That's it from us.